You've handed over your peace, your power, and your self-worth to a fantasy, a game you were never meant to play. Every time you wonder who else is in her messages, every time your mind spirals, imagining her attention scattered among other men, you're not just losing her or losing yourself. This isn't about love or connection anymore. It's about surrender. You've let the idea of her, the potential, the uncertainty, the chase consume you to the point where your own stability depends on her validation. And that's the cruelest trick of all. The more you fixate on her, the less she sees you as someone worth choosing. The truth is, she will always have options. That's the nature of the world we live in, especially now, where attention is fragmented and distractions are endless. But not all options are equal. The man who wins isn't the one desperately trying to prove he's the best. It's the one who already knows it. He doesn't beg for her time, decode her mixed signals, or rearrange his life to fit into hers. He stands firm in his own worth, and that unshakable confidence is what draws her in. Because deep down, people don't fall for neediness, they fall for strength. Right now, you're playing a game you can't win. The more you obsess over her choices, the more power you give away. Every anxious thought, every moment spent dissecting her behavior, is another piece of yourself you've sacrificed. And here's the hardest truth. If you're sitting there wondering whether she cares, she probably doesn't, at least not in the way you want her to. Real interest isn't ambiguous. It doesn't leave you guessing. When someone truly values you, they make it clear. But this isn't just about her. It's about the version of you that got lost along the way, the one who didn't need external validation to feel whole. That's the man you need to reclaim, because until you do, no relationship, no amount of attention will ever feel like enough. You'll always be one step behind, always measuring your worth by her reactions instead of your own standards. The first step isn't winning her over, it's winning yourself back. It's remembering that your value doesn't come from her or anyone else. It comes from the life you build, the discipline you keep, and the respect you hold for yourself. The moment you stop worrying about her choices is the moment you become the one she can't ignore. Not because you manipulated the game, but because you stopped playing it altogether. The irony is undeniable. The more you chase her, the further she pulls away. It's not because she's playing games or trying to manipulate you. It's human nature. People are drawn to those who radiate self-assurance, not those who seek permission to exist in their lives. A woman may have countless men vying for her attention, but the one who occupies her thoughts isn't the one blowing up her phone. It's the one who seems perfectly content without her. That man isn't indifferent out of strategy. He's focused because he has better things to do than orbit someone else's world. His energy says, I'm already complete, and that's what makes him magnetic. This isn't about pretending not to care, it's about genuinely having priorities that outweigh the need for validation. When you're consumed by purpose, when your days are filled with growth and ambition, you stop monitoring her every move. You stop dissecting the tone of her texts or the timing of her replies. Why? Because your sense of worth isn't tied to her reactions? You're no longer an option among many. You become the standard against which others are measured. And when she senses that shift, when she realizes you're not waiting for her to dictate your value, something changes. She starts to wonder. She starts to chase. But here's what most men miss. Choosing yourself first isn't a tactic to win her over. It's the foundation of a life well lived. It means hitting the gym even when you don't feel like it, pursuing your goals with relentless focus, and refusing to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's narrative. When you operate from this place of unshakable self-respect, you don't have to convince her of your worth. She feels it in every interaction. And that's when the dynamic flips. No longer are you competing for her attention. She's measuring herself against the man you've become. Because in the end, people don't fall for what you give them. They fall for who you are when you're fully, unapologetically yourself. The moment you become predictable is the moment you lose her intrigue. Humans are wired to crave mystery. Value what we can't fully grasp, not what's laid bare at our feet. That's why oversharing your feelings, constantly being available, or seeking reassurance kills attraction. She doesn't want a man whose emotions are an open book. She's drawn to the one who leaves room for her imagination to wander. This isn't about playing mind games, it's about understanding that desire grows in the space between certainty and curiosity. When she can't quite pin down how you feel, when your warmth is genuine but your attention isn't guaranteed, that's when you occupy her thoughts. Most men make the mistake of thinking more communication equals more connection. They flood her with texts, spill their insecurities prematurely, and mistake vulnerability for weakness. True emotional depth isn't shown through constant availability, it's demonstrated through the quiet confidence of a man who knows his worth, doesn't depend on her validation. Your silence speaks volumes when it comes from a place of fullness rather than punishment. Your absence becomes magnetic when it's clear you're not sitting by the phone. You're out living a life worth interrupting. The key is balance. Be engaging, but not eager. Interested, but not invested. Let her wonder why you're not like the others, chasing her approval. When you stop feeding her ego with constant attention, she'll start questioning why she isn't getting yours. That's the alchemy of attraction. It transforms indifference into intrigue, space into longing. The less you try to control her perception of you, the more powerful your presence becomes. Because in the end, people don't fall for what you give them, they fall for what they discover in the spaces you leave for them to explore. The modern dating world is saturated with men who mistake volume for value and list texts, performative, compliments, and manufactured intensity designed to grab attention. But presence isn't manufactured, it's cultivated. While other men drown her in noise, you stand apart by offering something rare, the quiet strength of a man who doesn't need to prove himself. She may have a dozen options vying for her attention, but how many of them can make her feel truly understood, not just flattered or entertained, but seen at a level that bypasses words and resonates in silence? That's the difference between competing and commanding. True presence isn't about grand gestures or constant communication. It's the way you hold eye contact a second longer than necessary, the way you listen without rushing to respond, the calm assurance that you're exactly where you want to be, with or without her. Most men telegraph their insecurity through nervous energy, over-explaining, or seeking reassurance. But when you're grounded in your own worth, she feels it in your stillness. There's an undeniable magnetism to a man who isn't rattled by competition because he knows no one else can offer what he does. This is how you shift from being another option to becoming the standard, not by out-talking other men, but by out-being them. When you're fully present, not chasing, not performing, simply existing in your power, she's forced to meet you at your level. The illusion of choice fades because no amount of superficial attention can compete with the depth of genuine connection. Other men become background noise, and you become the signal. That's the paradox. The less you compete, the more you stand apart. The less you need her validation, the more she'll seek yours. The fear of rejection keeps most men trapped in cycles of neediness, scrambling to please, overextending themselves, and clinging to connections that don't serve them. But the high-value man flips the script. He doesn't fear rejection. He uses it as a filter. Every interaction becomes a test not of his worth, but of whether she meets his standards. This mindset shift changes everything. Suddenly, her disinterest isn't a wound to your ego. It's valuable information saving you time. When you stop seeing loss and start recognizing incompatibility, you reclaim your power. This isn't about arrogance or false bravado. It's the quiet understanding that the right person will meet your energy without manipulation or games. The moment you internalize that you're the prize, not her, your entire approach transforms. You stop negotiating for crumbs of attention. You stop rationalizing mixed signals. If she pulls away, you don't chase. You let her go. Not with bitterness, but with the confidence of a man who knows better options exist, including the option of being happily alone. Women don't respond to logic. They respond to emotional leadership. When you lead with unshakable assurance, when your actions demonstrate that your peace isn't negotiable, she either rises to match your energy or removes herself from consideration. This is how you turn the tables without manipulation, by being so rooted in your own value that her choices become irrelevant to your self-worth. The paradox. The less you fear losing her, the more she fears losing you. Not because you've played games, but because you've shown her what real strength looks like, and she either step up or step aside. Either outcome serves you. That's the power of filtering, not clinging.